Hello everybody, it's Julia here from the Highly Sensitive Tarot, and I'm back today with another Learn Tarot video, and this is card number 19. We're going to be having a look at the Sun card. I shall show you this one here. This is my Radiant Wise Spirit Rider-Waite deck card, and this is a positive card. I'm going to be using the same format as before, actually, to be honest. I'm going to tell you a bit about the cards. I'm going to have a look at some of the cards that I've got here from my different decks, and then give you some questions that you might like to use for shadow work or for self-reflection. So yeah, this is the Sun. This is card number 19. This is a positive card in its energy. This is masculine. It promises the querent their day in the sun, really. This represents glory, gain, triumph, pleasure, truth and success. As the moon symbolises inspiration from the unconscious, from dreams, the sun symbolises discovery that are made fully conscious and wide awake. It's a card of intellect, clarity of mind and feelings of youthful energy. If other cards back it up, this card can mean children or a most wanted child on the way. But usually this card is about the Apollo. I know what I want to say. Apollyon, the Apollyon ideal. Young, fresh, youthful. Everything works okay, everything has potential to go just right for you. It's that song, isn't it, from the Beatles, Here Comes the Sun, and everything is going to be all right. This is a good time to take care of your physical health. In its higher realms, this card can represent cooperation, teamwork, the creative processes, commitment, joy, pleasure, the ability to accept life as it comes and to live contentedly, and an assertiveness. In its lower realms, this card can represent loneliness, cancel plans, immaturity, or even being too driven. But generally, when the Sun, makes an appearance, it's a very positive energy within a reading. So, continuing with this card here, there's a lot of symbology within this card. The Sun is at the centre of our solar system, and it's the source of all life, and so it's represented as being the centre of this card here. The child represents rebirth. He's also wearing a red feather here. I don't know if you can see that. And that red feather also appears in the Fool card at the beginning and in the Death card. So he is kind of the Fool reborn, this child here. And in the Sun card, because we're at card number 19, he's reborn with some kind of spiritual understanding and mastery. The horse here, the white horse, I think represents purity and freedom. The wall, which I assume is this here, is a sort of barrier that's been crossed, really. Yeah, it's something that has been crossed. The sunflowers in all of these Sun cards represent the bounty of summer. They kind of represent pure optimism and pure positivity. It's a gorgeous card. In the Cosmic Tarot here, which is one of my newer decks, this is very similar, but much more simple, actually, the themes in this card. I think the child here is just enjoying the sun and the light. And again, as I said, this child is the Fool reborn with some kind of mastery of themselves. I think the child here is just enjoying the freedom of the landscape and the nature, and this is this is kind of pure, unadulterated, innocent pleasure. In the tarot of the sun and moon, this little pocket-sized deck that I've got here, again we can see the sun at the centre of everything, the centre of the solar system, the source of all life. It holds energy and strength. The sunflowers are symbols of devotion in this card. What else have we got in here? We've got the lotus flower actually, and I think that represents cooperation and creative forces. There's a mandala here. There's also Hebrew symbols here. So this card is a much more esoteric take on the sun card. In the tarot of oppositions, in its positive light here, we've got can you see we've got some of the very same similar energies and themes, haven't we, of this card here. We've got this kind of wall, haven't we? And in this card, the wall has been it's been crossed, hasn't it? This barrier has been crossed, and all good things are there. In this card, it shows you what's either side of this barrier. And on one side, we've got this beautiful heat and radiance of the sun with the sunflowers and this very youthful child here enjoying everything that's positive. I think this represents, you know, children, physical vigour, physical health, just everything positive really. And then in its shadow attributes, very sadly here, we see this child looking quite thin and emaciated. The sunflowers are dying. Even though the sun is still here, it doesn't seem to be having the same effect on the sunflowers and the poor child here, does it? So this is a kind of, you know, having to grit your teeth and wait for the light to return. This is like you've lost all of your strength and all of your vigour, and you need to heal and get your strength back, really. That's the way it seems to me there. In the Book of Shadows, Volume 2, which is this card here, I love this very contemporary take on the sun, actually. This is just very simply, in the light and the heat of the sun, we celebrate all the things that we hold dear. So this is a garden party, a celebration of some kind, a coming together of family, of friends, eating good food, laughing, you know, spending time together in the sun, soaking up the energy of the sun. So that's quite simple, that one, isn't it? And then the last card that I've got here, this beautiful card here, is from my Mary L tarot deck, which is very new to me. I haven't used it to read as yet, because it's just so full of different esoteric sort of symbols and things. I really wanted to read the book and properly understand it before I start to use it. So I'm going to read from the book for this one and see what Mary L has got to say, or Mary White, sorry. So here we go. So, an astronomical question. What would happen if God leaned down and gave you a full wet kiss? Ooh. Hafiz doesn't mind answering astronomical questions like that. You would surely start reciting all day inebriated rogue poems like this. This is a quote from somebody called Hafiz. I don't know who that is. There's another quote here, the sun is God's metaphor for himself. So the sun is the end of the line. The fool in the beginning walked off the cliff without a care and tucked his beautiful self into a little travel pack, and off he went to experience life, into the world of life and death, of love and suffering. From there he was loved, cuddled, tortured, rendered, blinded, witness to all of the beauty and suffering in the world, challenged, pushed and transformed. His divine self was slowly walled inside a fortress of stone, but after he dragged himself out of the pits of despair and ruin in the underworld, he climbed this tower slowly, then furious and possessed. At the top he reached the sun and realised that he was the sun all along. His beautiful little self in the pack, divine by birth, had grown and expanded through experience. That's what I was talking about before, wasn't it? That the child in some of these cards here is the fool reborn, but with some knowledge and experience. So it expanded through experience and hard work and self-knowledge until it broke free of its bondage and remembered who it was and filled the whole universe, renewing his self, his memory, and making the wasted lands fertile again. And then the fool tucked it back in his little pack and stepped off the cliff again, laughing. What have we got here? There's a lot here about Hebrew alphabets again. There's quite a bit of biblical stuff here. There's some stuff from Egyptian mythology. There's a classic Chinese book called The Journey West, which begins with the travel of a monkey named Sun Wukong. He was born from a rock and then quickly becomes king of the monkeys. Thoth was often depicted as a baboon. Baboons gather and watch the sunrise daily, apparently. Thoth was equivalent to Hermes, who was ascribed to the gods. What else have we got here? The sun is a symbol for God, but is also a symbol for the exaltation of mankind, the exaltations of the fool, and the exaltation of the individual. The sun is the full potential of a human realised. And then there's a quote here from Joseph Campbell. That which you are was never born and will never die. That is the insight rendered in terms of the solar mystery, the solar light. And that's from Joseph Campbell. So the upright energy of this card is positive. It's the centre of life, attention and activity. It's consciousness, illumination, daytime warmth, happiness, joy, optimism and vitality. But reversed and in its lower energies, this is low energy, tapped resources, being self-centred, pessimistic, overexposed, eclipsed or filtered, overextended or stretched too thin. So it's interesting, isn't it? Even with all of these different, all of the different cards that we see here, the theme, the energy of these cards is very similar, isn't it? So if we were going to ask some questions of ourselves, things that would prompt and aid in our self-reflective processes and in our shadow work, we could ask questions like, where is the joy in your life and how do you share that with others? What have you succeeded at recently, or what would you like to accomplish? Can you honour your commitments? What fears have you managed to gain mastery over? And what do you feel positive about? So where is the joy in your life and how do you share this with others? What have you succeeded at recently, or what would you like to accomplish? Can you honour your commitments? What fears have you managed to gain mastery over? and what do you feel positive about. So there we go. That's the Sun card. So I do hope that you enjoyed that. I shall be back fairly soon, I hope, with the last 2 videos from the Major Arcana. We've just got Judgment and the World left to do, haven't we? And then I can get onto the court cards. And I plan to do 1 video for the Kings, for all of the suits, 1 for the Queens, the Knights and the Pages. And I'll put all of the suits in those videos, and then we'll get on to the minor arcana, the numbers. And I do hope with this series that I can then look at some tarot spreads, to look at numerology, astrology, symbology a bit more in depth, different decks a bit more in depth, how cards relate to each other in a reading, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I would really like to get into all of that in the future. So if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.